Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of Marek Connell English. Today we're going to be talking about healthy eating. I think there is a big problem in society nowadays because people don't really eat very healthily. We live in an age of fast food and we have very busy lives, so very often what we do is we eat convenience food, we eat ready-made meals that we buy from supermarkets, and generally, there are a lot of options in terms of what you can eat, and very often what tastes good isn't healthy, and what is healthy doesn't necessarily taste good. Then there's also the issue of meat eating. I'm kind of a vegetarian, sometimes a vegan. I don't really eat meat at home, but if I go out, I eat whatever, really. But I definitely think there are numerous benefits of following a vegetarian diet or not eating meat at all and being a vegan and not eating any dairy products. Things like pasta, which are refined foods, are not really good to eat. I think things like rice, potatoes, things that you pull out of the ground and you can eat directly, those things are healthier. I follow quite a strange diet, but it's what I like. I like colourful foods and fruits and vegetables. I eat a lot of fruit nowadays. In the morning I start the day with melon, just munching on melon, and then I generally make a smoothie or make some juice using my slow juicer, and what goes into that is strawberries, banana if I'm making a smoothie, apples, oranges, and I juice crazy things, crazy combinations. I juice cucumbers, courgettes, cauliflower, broccoli. I juice everything, and the colours in the juice are just incredible when you have that kind of mixture of different colours. I do sometimes eat a burger if I go out, but it's not really my weapon of choice. It's not my favourite food to eat, and I think you feel kind of heavy after you eat those kinds of foods. I know a lot of people who are overweight, and it's a bit upsetting because I consider myself in reasonable shape, and I think it's very clear what they need to be doing. They need to be doing more exercise, and they need to be eating the right foods at the right time. In Spain, they eat very late. Okay, they have the Mediterranean diet, which is really good, but in my opinion, eating at 11 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock is a bit late, because by the time you finish the meal, it's maybe even 12 o'clock, and you're going to sleep. You're not going to really burn those calories off. So, there's more potential for that food to be converted into fat. In Britain, we eat a lot earlier, maybe 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and then, in theory, at the same time, we probably sit down on the couch and watch TV, being a couch potato. So that's probably not a good thing either, but there's more potential, I think, to burn off those calories if you eat them earlier. I'm a huge proponent of juicing because I think it cuts out the fibre, and the body spends a lot of energy digesting fibre. I'm not saying that you should only live on a juice diet, although I think that can have a lot of benefits as well. But I think it's good to kind of go on a juice fast every few weeks just to kind of cleanse the body. And it's good to give the body a break and give the body the nutrients that it needs. And also juice, the nutrients are very quickly absorbed because, the body doesn't have to break down the fibre and get the juice out. So I definitely believe in juicing. I've read somewhere, or I've heard somewhere, that, a good way to eat is to only combine 3 different ingredients in your meals, because if you have a lot of ingredients, it overwhelms the digestive system. Now, I'm not an expert in nutrition, but, that appeals to me a lot, because I think, there are certain foods that you shouldn't combine. For example, I think I've heard that it's contradictory to eat potatoes with fish, for example, or something like that, because the chemical mix that the stomach has to create to digest those foods are kind of contradictory. I'm not sure if it's potatoes and fish, but there are definitely some combinations of foods that we shouldn't eat because it overwhelms the body. But basically, what your body needs is a combination of proteins, carbohydrates or carbs, fats, and calories. So obviously, if you're consuming more calories than you need, that's converted into fat. everything that you eat in excess is basically converted into fat, which is what you don't want. So, if you eat fatty foods, lots of meat, chorizo, and all that stuff, sorry guys, you're more likely to put on weight, in my opinion. There's a interesting website, MyFitnessPal, and I used to use that for a period of time where I actually calculated everything that I was eating. And maybe for people who are overweight and want to kind of track what they're eating and track their progress, it's a good tool to maybe reduce your weight, reduce your amount of body fat, and eat healthier. You'd be surprised how much fat simple biscuits contain. And it wasn't until I started using MyFitnessPal that I realized that all these kind of convenience foods are really, really calorie dense. Chocolate, milk chocolate, it has a huge amount of sugar and fat. Foods that are a good source of carbohydrates are rice, pasta, which I don't really like eating, and potatoes. I really like cassava and sweet potato, although I don't eat a lot of that. Bread, I don't really eat a lot of bread, but it's also a source of carbohydrates. Protein-wise, I think if you're vegetarian or vegan, lentils, beans, tofu, all those kinds of things, they have a huge amount of protein. And if you eat meat, chicken, beef, and all of that stuff, fish, that can provide you with a lot of protein, although it's not really my cup of tea. Fats, I eat a lot of nuts, walnuts, peanuts, cashew nuts, and raisins. I think those things provide a lot of healthy fat. And your calories, the general amount of calories for a man I think are 2,500, and for a woman I think it's 2,000. So really whatever you're eating, unless you want to put on body mass, whether that's probably muscle, I guess, unless you're a sumo wrestler and you want to put on fat, you want to keep your calories within maybe 2,000, 3,000 calories. But again, MyFitnessPal is a good way to track how many calories you're eating. Another topic with healthy eating is organic food. Organic food is organically grown, so they don't use harmful pesticides and they don't adulterate the food in any way. Unfortunately, this kind of food is often a lot more expensive. I don't buy organic food because of the price. I buy most of my fruits and vegetables, unfortunately, from Mercadona. I don't buy tomatoes from there because they just look too perfect. I like my ugly, strange shaped tomatoes. But yeah, organic food is a good option if you can afford it. Genetically modified food is also, an issue nowadays. And yeah, my fear is that I probably eat some foods that have some kind of genetic modification when I buy stuff from the supermarkets here in Spain. But I think in terms of price, that's a price I'm willing to pay, I guess, and a risk that I'm willing to take. I think that, also the government should act more to subsidize the price of organic food. If you go to the supermarket, you can buy, this is a small thing, but if you go to the supermarket, you can buy cashew nuts with salt, and they're cheaper than cashew nuts without salt. A lot of people should reduce the amount of salt that they consume. I never personally put any salt in any of my food when I'm cooking. But yeah, it's just ironic that, it's cheaper to have a food that has more ingredients, which is salt, than to have the food without salt. But that's the world that we live in, I guess. I think the government should educate children more on healthy eating when they're young. If you can convince children that fast food is not a good idea, then they're more likely to grow up and become adults who don't really want to eat those kinds of foods. But also parents are responsible for that as well. In Spain, there isn't much of a problem with obesity, but I think America is leading the way on that topic, and in Britain as well, I think it's quite a big problem. And you can see it. You can see the reasons why. There are newsagents on every corner selling calorie-dense chocolates and crisps and stuff like that. Britain is a country of convenience food, so the result is that you have a lot of people who are overweight. And it's kind of ironic because we go to the gym, we do exercise to kind of counteract the amount of rubbish that we eat. But really, if you don't eat rubbish in the first place, you're not going to have those problems, and you're not going to need to do as much exercise. So I'm a huge proponent of good stuff in, good stuff out. And the better you eat, the less exercise you have to do, and the healthier that you are. So, you know, it all kind of makes sense for me. Anyway, guys, I've kind of waffled my way through that one, so I hope that has helped you get some ideas for what you could talk about, the vocabulary that you could use, and the pronunciation of certain words. So until next time, good luck with your exams.